We watched Are You Afraid of the Dark? And man, I don't think I slept as a kid because of watching shows like that. There was some scary stuff. And
Your parents probably didn't care about you.
Well, we waited till they went to sleep. And my brother would be like, it's on. And we would like walk down the hall and like.
What's it about? I've never seen one episode.
Are You Afraid of the Dark is basically.
My wife would kill me.
It's a group of kids sitting around a campfire. And like there's like a leader of this like group of kids. And I want to say they're 12 to 16 years old. And they just tell terrifying stories of like kids seeing ghosts and like dead bodies.
What?
And like there's one.
Sounds awful.
There's one really scary one about like a swimming pool and like, yeah, I don't want to get into it, but this actually, when it comes to scary stories, the scariest that I have a really scary story, and it's not scary in like a fear way. It's scary in like a deep human, like emotional. It was one of the driving factors for me behind why I wanted to just be in this world of business. And it's been a driving theme for me behind even entrepreneurship. Welcome to the Humanity Sells Podcast, where we talk about the marketing revolution that's happening in tech consulting and how the best businesses are elevating their brand, amplifying their message, and selling more by being more human. We're your hosts, Brandon Triola.
And I'm Nate Nettie. Let's get into it.
A lot of people don't know this, but so I spent, as I talked about on a previous episode, I spent about 10 years in the personal development space working with authors, artists, speakers, publishing companies. But before that, the first real marketing job I ever had, I got a job working for a local advertising company. And the way that I got this job is really, really interesting. So before I had this job, I had been doing graphic design as like a hobby, making like a little bit of money on the side. And I got invited to go on this trip with an organization to Haiti, to Port-au-Prince. And we're there in Haiti, and we are doing all kinds of things with the people there. And, we are doing activities for kids, and we're trying to find ways to like just help the people of Haiti. This is pre-earthquake. And we're there with a ministry organization. And I think it's fine for me to talk about this on our podcast because this is something about my humanity, right? Like, and I'll say this too. One of the things that I fully believe when it comes to being a human, you shouldn't have to check your humanity at the door, at business.
I totally agree.
Whatever you like, what you believe and who you are as a person. I hate that we have to. When you get to work, you leave it outside and you go in. I don't like that.
You have to be like person two.
And I don't like that. I've never liked that. And I've always tried to like connect with the people I work with. I want to learn about them. I don't just want to like sit next to you in a chair and do stuff. Like, what do you love? What do you hate? What is it about you? So I'm in Haiti with a ministry, and we are downtown in downtown Port-au-Prince, and it's just crazy. And if you've ever been to a country like Haiti, where it's predominantly people of like another darker skin color, and there's not a lot of white people there, when they see white people, they love it. They come over to you. And so within about 20 minutes of our group of about 13 or 14 people being downtown, this crowd formed around us.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was crazy. Not in a bad way. Like they weren't like hurting us. They were just excited, and it kind of turned into chaos. And so the leader of our group was like, hey, we need to do something about this. Like we need somebody to like stand up and like share the word. Somebody stand up and preach. Who do you think they picked?
Definitely not you.
Yeah, they picked me. And I stood up, and I had this really simple way back then of like explaining the gospel. And it was kind of just basically like, hey, you see this thing? And I had like this old flip phone. I said, you hold this up. I held it up for everybody. This is a phone. It is terrible at toasting bread. You will not be able to toast bread. If you try to toast bread with this, you will fail because it was not designed to toast bread. And you were just like a phone. You were designed for a specific purpose. And I would get into it. And I mean, to use like entertainment language, I killed every night. Like, I did not bomb. But the thing about this trip, there was a guy on the trip who had been invited on the trip, and he owned this local advertising company. He saw me preaching and said, wow, your ability to communicate is amazing. I want you to come work for me. And I remember being like, doing what? He's like, I want you to be one of my sales guys. I'm going to teach you how to do this. You're going to make a ton of money. You're going to be really great at this. We sell advertising and blah, blah, blah. I just was like, okay, like I'm tired of being poor. Can only take it so much.
I'm so poor I had to save up to be poor.
Yeah, exactly. You can only be poor for so long. And the idea of like making a ton of money was like appealing to me. And, I could still do this other stuff and do this graphic design thing as a hobby. And so I went to work for this guy, and I'll never forget my first paycheck was $900.
Holy smokes.
That's after a week.
That was take home?
That was the paycheck. Like, yeah,
Whoa.
that was after taxes taken out.
You're crushing.
And I fell in love with this ability to go door to door. We were cold calling. I was going to local businesses and I was selling them these advertising packages and these subscriptions. And I was connecting with these business owners and meeting them. And in fact, they would send me in to the delinquent accounts that wouldn't pay. And I would not only get them to pay, I would get them to re-up for another account.
That's awesome.
So I learned I was really good at this.
Yeah.
And I started to like it. It was a lot of work, but there was one day that it all changed. Like it was, and this is where like the dun 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 like gets into it.
Yeah.
I at that point this was my introduction to the business world. This was my introduction to the corporate environment, and from up until that point I thought this is great. Everybody's just nice and just makes a lot of money. And then I'll never forget, we're standing in a Latino convenience store, and that particular day, my boss who owned the business had joined me. He's like, hey, I'm going to go make some calls with you. There's a couple places I want to check out. You come in with me, kind of see how I do it, whatever. Like we'll work together for the day. It was cool. We're standing in there, and the family that owned the convenience store is behind the counter, and they're checking out a customer or whatever. Like, and he pulls me over behind a Fanta display. You've seen everybody knows Fanta, right? Mm-hmm. An orange Fanta display of Fanta. And he goes, listen to me. He pulls me in close and he goes, I have been trying to get them to sign this contract for over a year and they never want to sign. He goes, I know what will get them to sign. He goes, go up to these people and talk to them about God. Ooh. That will get them to sign.
I just got the ick.
The ick. And he was dead serious. And I didn't even know what to say. I kind of was like, I could tell that he wasn't joking, but I was like, you should be joking about this,
Yeah,
right?
you should be like, just kidding, man.
And
at least.
You know how like when you just have a deeply held belief about something. And,
sure, you don't play with that stuff.
Yeah, like, and especially when it comes to religion, like it's a touchy subject to me because I know a lot of people that have like been abused by.
Yeah, it could be a manipulation.
I know
tool.
a lot of people that like have a really bad taste in their mouth about like God and Christianity because of this sort of a thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just very sensitive to that. And so I just remember feeling the ick, like you said, really strong. And I didn't know what to do. I mean, I knew that I wasn't going to do it, but I didn't know how to respond. And I just looked at him and he goes, what? He's like, go. And I was like, I just remember looking at him and being like, I'm not going to do that. And he like took a step back and like he looked at me and he goes, what? What? I just told you what will get them to sign. Go talk to them about God. They're spiritual people. Look, and he held up like a Virgin Mary candle because they sold the Virgin Mary candles. And he was like, see, like, don't you get it? And I was just like, wow, like this dude like heard me sharing something like really personal, like intimate and dear to me, which was my faith, and like used that to like saw an overlapping skill, used that to get me to come and work for him. And now he's trying to use that to get these people to like close a deal. And I told him no. And he got really upset. And it was awkward because we had rode in the same car, and like he drove me back to the office, and like we didn't really talk. And he kind of just was like, he was like mad, but like he didn't like go into it anymore. And I'll never forget, I went home, and I still lived with my parents at the time, which was crazy. I walked upstairs, and I had a tiny little desk in my bedroom with I had one of the black MacBooks. You guys remember the black MacBooks?
Yeah,
I opened
those are
it,
so dope.
And I wrote my resignation, and I said, I thank you so much for this opportunity and what I've learned over the past year. I'm really thankful learning this world of like sales and marketing, and I think these skills are really valuable. But like, I just don't feel comfortable, working here anymore. I don't remember what I said exactly, but I quit. And I remember in that moment realizing that, wow, one, like businesses use humanity in a manipulative way to get people to buy things. And I was immediately against that. And I realized that I want humanity to not just be the means, So this is called the Humanity Sells podcast. But here's the thing. Humanity is not just the means to selling. It's also, I think it's the end. It's technology, digital transformation, whatever it is. It should build a world where people and technology work together to elevate humanity. And that moment in that Latino grocery store, I just realized, like, if I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life, I am not gonna manipulate people. I'm not gonna use humanity as a means to get people to buy things.
Yeah.
Humanity sells. Humanity is the strategy, but it's also the means. It's not just revenue. It's not just dollars. It's I want to leave my mark on this world that makes our shared and elevated humanity something that's celebrated and valued. And that was talking about scary stories, like that was a story that just marked me in that moment. And I think a lot of people have experiences like that in business. I mean, we hear stories all the time, right? I mean, I bet HR departments, if they could tell us everything that they hear, things that go on in large corporate entities, it's probably even crazier. But yeah, I just deeply believe that we should not be manipulating people with the things that make them the most human. We shouldn't be manipulating them, and we shouldn't make revenue and just growth the absolute means to everything. We have to leave our mark on this planet that elevates the human experience and our shared humanity.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I feel like you live that out, certainly at our business.
Well, I try.
For sure. I mean, there have been many times, probably at this point, more times than I can count, where you have done things that have put what you just said into practice, humanity as the end, that no one will ever see, that I have seen. More times than I can count at this point. So you're definitely living this conviction out.
And I think, like, there will be people that just listen to this and like, man, whatever. Like I got growth goals to hit.
I got to sell.
And you know what? That's fine. Like, I don't want to work with you.
Hey, thank you for saying. You know what? I think that helps me. Sometimes it's okay to look people in the eye and say, I don't want to work with you.
Yeah, like we don't need to sacrifice our humanity on the altar to make money. That's the whole point of this.
There have been clients that we have had, not for bad reasons always, but we have, I keep burping, looked them in the eye and said, I don't want to work with you. I love you. I support you. I want you to succeed. I don't want to work with you.
Yeah, and then we also have clients that I think are some of the best, most shining examples of what this means. And some of those clients we don't even work with anymore for other reasons. But that's the thing, right? And I just think wherever you're at, like whether you're like a digital transformation leader, whether you're leading a massive $1 billion business unit or whatever it is, or if you're just like a marketing director, like, I think we all need to just take a look in the mirror. Like, we're not here forever. You're on this planet. Do you want it to be said about you at the end of your life that you were a growth driver? Bill was a great growth driver. Yeah. No, like
on your tombstone, a great driver of growth and operational efficiency at the enterprise level.
Yeah, like he spent the weekends with his family, but like he was heads down and he drove growth, by God. Like I think growth is great. I want growth. Like, I want my business to grow. I want to help my clients' businesses grow.
But growth for the sake of growth.
Growth for the sake of growth is the ideology of the cancer cell. And when we talk about like a purpose-driven business and being a purpose-driven business, like, what will you do with your growth? And I guess that's my challenge personally to the people listening to this. Like, when you get your growth, what are you going to do with it? When you get the big profit share or the big bonus, whatever it is, what are you going to do? You just going to buy a better house? Or are you just going to like buy a vacation home? What are you doing to make the human experience better for all of us?
Yeah, there's a famous podcaster who talks about like the idea of retirement, and he's Canadian. He has this strong Canadian. I can't do his accent, and he says like, okay, let's look at your plan. You're going to make all this money, and then what are you going to do? You're going to go to the beach, and you're going to drink margaritas.
Yeah.
How's that going to feel after about 4 or 5 days?
Yeah.
You're going to be about done with it.
Yeah.
And then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You waited your whole life to be able to do whatever you wanted, and you're going to go drink margaritas on the beach.
Yeah.
You're going to go play golf. Really?
Yeah.
That's it? That's what we're doing this for?
Yeah.
That's why we're making this so we can do that?
Yeah. I actually think as well that digital transformation businesses, like we said on a previous episode, are the ones most uniquely positioned to make the most impact in the world. So take a step back and like just reevaluate why you're doing this. I think that's the takeaway.
You could start by making the lives of the people that work for you better.
There you go. There you go. So, yeah, I think, humanity, this whole idea of humanity and what does it mean? That's what it means to me. That's what humanity sells means to me. And I think the way that I would summarize it is that humanity is the strategy and the businesses, the technology businesses that are growing are the most human. But for me, it's also the end. It's also the end. I want to leave a world for my children that I do not feel guilty about.
So that was a really good point. Thank you for sharing that. Obviously, that resonates with me. We own this company together. We started it for that specific purpose. We have our mantra internally is put humanity back in business. So, the only reason we exist is to do that. I was curious, and I feel like I'm cheating because I know some of these answers, but I would love to hear from you. Like, where has the rubber met the road when it comes to people over profits, just to boil it down, or really putting humanity back in business at the expense of business growth? Because I feel like the examples that you're giving, it's not really going to compute to people like, wait a second, making profits for my shareholders is not the most important thing. It's not going to make any sense, because if that is all you know, then it doesn't make sense. But I would love to hear what it actually looks like in practice.
I think I have a lot of examples, and I think that, if you're listening to this and you are a digital transformation leader or a technology consultant of any kind, you probably have your own stories.
Yeah.
You probably can think of your own and go, oh man, like you can probably think of leaders, you can probably think of directors, managers, or even bosses, or even maybe you, like when you've done things for your team or for your clients that transcended profitability. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the starting point. It's just to stop and ask and go, what are the things that we can do that transcend just profitability and revenue and growth for the sake of revenue and growth, that really show that we actually care about the humans, whether it be team, employees, or clients. One of the best ones that I can think of is I worked as a contractor for a client for a long time. And there was a team of contractors. Nobody were employees. And every year on Christmas, this person would individually give us a Christmas bonus. Mm. And I don't know anybody that does that for contractors. And it was not a little bonus. It was over $1,000. And so I just remember the first time that he handed me a check, and he looked at me and he told me that he was thankful for me and the work that I was doing. And I had never experienced a boss ever be like that in any regard. And that to me transcended, like, I wasn't even expecting it, but every single year, probably around the 15th of December, I'd get a call, let's go to lunch, or, at one point we all worked in an office. He'd be like, hey, can you come up real quick? I knew what it was. Buddy, here you go. Always a check. Thank you. And it was heartfelt. It was like real. That was an example. I can also think of another leader, an amazing leader, one of the best CEOs I've ever known. He had a woman working for him that was also a contractor and getting ready to go on maternity leave. And he said, we are going to, she's probably not even coming back. We are going to pay her maternity leave while she's out.
As a contractor.
They never told anybody about this. It was an internal thing, and I'd heard about it. And they paid for her for, what's the standard leave in the U.S., like maternity leave?
6 weeks.
It's like 6 weeks or something like that. They just paid her salary, which is basically like a full-time salary. They paid her salary. No one ever found out about it. And they just said, like, we see this person. They empathized with where she was. And it was like, she didn't expect it again.
As a contractor,
they did not have to do it. Yeah. So just situations like that.
So basically, like, here's just like a bigger thought to kind of recontextualize this thing. Business is just a tool. If you're leading a business, you need to see it as a tool. It's something that you pick up and use to elevate humanity.
I would say this, the human, the truly humanized, human-focused business leaders will see it that way. I would say if you're just like greedy and profit-driven, you won't.
Yeah, I mean, I know
that's hard to say out
I've seen
loud,
some
but like
examples of the very opposite of this.
Yeah.
Business owners that use the revenues as their own personal checking account.
I know a person that spent over 10, I think 20 years out of business. They were promised shares to stay there, take lower salary. Something happened, years later, the person is moving on from the business. You're not getting your shares.
Like 20 years in?
Yeah, I don't know what the exact number was of years. And multiple stories of this.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard
in
some
the
too.
technology consulting space.
Yeah.
And so at this point, when things like this are happening, we have to step back and go, what's the point of this?
Yeah, that's what I feel like too. I just feel like what are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're not helping each other, if we're not using this as a tool, if we're not elevating the human experience and like reaching people where they're at, then what is it for? Bill was a driver of growth.
Here lies Bill, growth driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Revenue maker, rainmaker.
Yeah.
Great sales guy.
Yeah.
Get out of here with that. I have no interest in that. I own a business, and of course, like I say all the time to my team, if we don't make money, we can't live our mission. If we don't have profit, we can't live our purpose at work.
I love money. I want more of it. I'm not knocking money.
No, it's not
I'm
about
just saying
knocking money.
We all need to examine our reason for doing this and our reason for existence. And the thing that makes it worthwhile being on this planet is our humanity. And contributing to that.
Do you think
is the goal?
Let me dig a little deeper on this.
Okay.
We're going to keep it going because I think there's another thought here. Do you think that this actually starts with individuals having a higher view of their own purpose for being here?
I mean, absolutely.
Difficult for you to see how you could use business as a tool if you don't understand what your tools are for.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely it. I mean, everything starts with us internally, right? I mean, leadership is from the top down. So if at the very top, everybody, is against each other and political and just money hungry, that's going to trickle throughout the business. I mean, it's going to be really hard to humanize. That's why the best businesses and the businesses that are the most human usually have great human leaders at the top leading everything. We have a client right now. Their CEO he eats, sleeps, and breathes empathy. He lives it out. And the experience that their people have throughout their business is they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel cared about. This is a global technology consulting company. And it's amazing. It's unlike anything we've ever seen in this space.
How do you think that, okay, let's just say I'm listening to this. I mean, this is inspiring to me. It's challenging to me.
Well, yeah, snap out of it.
Yeah. If I'm listening to this.
Get your act together.
If I'm listening to this and I'm a business leader, I have a resource. I've built a business. I have poured my life into it. Like, how do I begin the journey of self-reflection of like, yeah, I can make money hand over fist. I'm good at that. But what am I here for? Where do I start with that?
I would say, I'm sorry that you've lived your life this long and no one's ever told, like you've gone this long in your life without knowing.
Knowing what?
Why you're here. I would say, I'm sorry. That sucks. That's what I'd say first.
It does suck. And I feel like as business owners, being around a lot more executives and business owners, by and large, the majority would say that.
Yeah.
Like very successful.
Yeah, that's the first thing I would say. And then, I mean, I'm just a natural encourager. So I always try to just encourage. I always just try to say like, you don't even like realize how valuable you are just as a human. Like take your title off the table for a second. Take your C-level title off the table. You're needed. Like who do you have at home, right? Like, I think this is why the parenting thing hits so hard because like nobody will ever at your job ever love you more than your kids love you. They will never look at you and need you more than your kids need you. So why do our kids just get those little scraps of time?
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I guess my answer is I don't know what I would say. I don't know where to start. I think, everybody has to have their own journey of like self-reflection and like, why am I really here? And like that, now we're getting really philosophical. I believe we should all do that. I believe everybody should have a purpose. I know what mine is. I know you know what yours is. But I do think when we know that, it enables us to not only humanize our business, but lead our businesses better, lead our people better, lead our teams better, have a vision statement where we know where we're going, humanize our business, tell better stories, do all these things when we as leaders have a reason for being that transcends profitability.
Oof. Yeah, 100%. Thanks for sharing that. That was good.
Thanks for asking great questions.